excited as we are. And today we are going to start your first session. So very important, two things that we have to remember. You are going to put your boxing gloves on, but inside boxing gloves we normally put wraps on. Now wraps look like this, and Madeleine can show you the long one she's got there. And I'm going to show you today how we're going to put this on our hands to make sure that we don't have any injuries. Now the wraps we use to make sure that you don't chafe your hands, also to make sure that you're actually just bringing the hands when you make a fist to keep those bones and everything nice and tight in place when you make a fist, right? So you'll see your wraps when you've purchased them somewhere at the shop, they've got a little loop. Now the loop is going to go around your thumb. So I'm going to move a little bit closer here so you guys can see nice and clear. Right, so the loop goes around the thumb. From here we want to go around the wrist. So we go around the wrist, make sure you have a nice long wrap, and we're going to twice around the wrist. Now at this angle we want to loop around the thumb. So it goes around the thumb and back around the wrist. Okay, so now you should look like that. Right, now from this we want to go across. Always go around the wrist, and when we cross the finger, this is the index finger, it's going to loop around the index finger and back around the wrist. Now you'll see if you bend that finger down, it's covered. Right, so we've gone around the index finger. Now we're going to go around the middle finger. Every time we go back around the wrist. That's it. Now, I normally do the pinky first to make sure that the wrap doesn't slide off to the side. So we're going to go around the pinky, and then we go back around the wrist. That's it. And now from here, we're going to go around the ring finger. And now we go back around the wrist. Now you'll see if you make a fist, all those fingers are wrapped. Right, you'll see there's quite a bit of the wrap left. So the rest of it, we want to go just around the wrist. Then we go twice around the wrist. And then we're going to loop it up around the knuckles. We want to make sure there's enough padding over here by the knuckles. So let's go around the knuckles, give it another one. And then we go back around the wrist. That's it. Make sure that it's not too tight, that you don't cut off your own blood supply. And then the rest of it you can just loop around the wrist. And for those that have their watches on to get points, you can also just go over the watch. Good.
And Leria did show you quite an easy way to do it, but please don't get frustrated if you can't get it right. I mean, in the end, you're going to find your own way of wrapping it. As long as you just always remember, you want to protect your wrist, you want to protect your knuckles. So, but follow her technique. But if you don't get it right, don't give up. You will find it's like riding a bicycle. Once you can do it, you do it your way, and it will work.
Exactly. Main thing is we want to make sure that the knuckles are covered and the hand is protected. But I'll show you once more on the other side. So it goes around the thumb. From here we go around the wrist. We'll go twice around the wrist, and then we loop around the thumb, back around the wrist. Now from here, you have to go over the top. So make sure, because if I go underneath, it's going to be open. So I want to loop over the top and back around the wrist. Good. And then we go over the top of the middle finger and back around the wrist. And then I normally do the pinky. It goes around and back around the wrist. And then we're going to go around the ring finger, we go back around the wrist. Now it's all nice and wrapped when you make a fist.
And this is also not how she keeps it open. It's open in the palm.
Yes, this is
so
the
when
back.
you skip with your wraps, it's open on the back.
And that's the front, nice and wrapped. Right, so now the rest goes around the wrist, and then you're going to just loop it a few times just over the knuckles to give some extra padding there, especially when you start punching nice and hard. And then we go back around the wrist. Okay, and if it's a nice long wrap, then you can just wrap it a few times around the wrist. Make sure it's nice and secure. Just, be careful not to make it too tight. Right. Good, now we're ready. So what we always have to do before we start any good boxing session, as you see, Madeleine is already going and jumping forward, we need to do a warm-up. I'm going to show you guys, part of boxing always is skipping. Don't panic though. If you guys are not able to skip, I'm going to show you what we do with the skipping. And if you're not able to skip, Madeleine's going to show you that you can also just move on the spot by doing jumps without the skipping rope, or even just walk it out or run it out on the spot. Right, ideally your skipping rope, if you stand on it, you want to just reach around by the hips, otherwise it's going to be too long. Now I'm going to show you a couple of seconds, maybe 30 seconds. What we want to do before you do any workout is you want to do about a 5-minute warm-up, just to make sure that all the muscles are nice and warm. And this is, remember, after you did your stretching. So in the previous video we showed you the stretching. Make sure you always stretch, then we wrap, and then we do a warm up. Right, so let's do a little bit of skipping here. So you're going to put your feet together and we're going to go up. So we don't want to jump too high, nice little jumps. And for those that feel more comfortable, you can jump side to side. Okay. So we're going to just, remember also we don't want to swing too high. It's just a little bit of a wrist flick as you jump. And for those that used to be skipping champions at school, you can do all your tricks as well if you want. Otherwise we just give it a normal skip. Right, so this we can try and do for about 5 minutes. If you need to have a break in between, you can stop. And if you can't do the skipping, then you can put it down.
Yeah, so if you don't have a skipping rope, then just on the spot, just go side to side. As long as you move, as long as you just get that heart rate up, and just before we go into the actual training, you can even move your arms around. And you can skip as if you have a skipping rope. So warm up those wrists, flick it. You can change your feet on one foot, other foot, do some footwork. Or you can just go side to side.
Good. And another important thing I want to mention, if there is some of you guys who have injuries, unfortunately most of us have some injury somewhere. If you do have problems with your knees and the actual jarring motion isn't working for you, then we don't have to skip, then we're going to walk it out. So we're going to just make sure that you bring your knees up, you can swing those arms,
work your arms.
And just get the, get everything moving, get the blood flowing, get the heart rate up, and get all warmed up.
And you can even warm up your arms like this.
Yes. Very good. Right, so after you've done your 5-minute warm-up, we are ready to learn some boxing. Good, so I'm going to take you through some of the basic stuff quickly. Basic techniques we're going to start with today is called a jab right. Now you might not know what it is, it might sound a little bit Greek to you. Basically, our jab is not our power punch. I always say if you are going to punch somebody in the street, which we shouldn't do, but if you're going to punch somebody, you're going to use your strong hand. Your strong side is your power punch. Your jab is your other hand. So if you are right-handed, your jab is going to be your left hand. Right. First things first, we need to have a comfortable stance. Can't stand all square, and we don't want to stand all sideways, then we have no balance. So the best thing is always to have your feet next to each other, about shoulder width, and then you're going to take your strong leg and put it a little bit further back. So you want to have a nice, comfortable stance. You always have a little bit of a bend in the knee, so you're not all locked. You can't stand with locked knees. So we have a nice, comfortable stance so that you're always able to move. Your strong leg will be in the back. Right. Another important thing is your hands want to stay up. So we don't want to box from here, and we can't punch from here. We need to keep our hands up. So hands are always going to be by the face, and in the beginning, to make you remember that, is just touch your fingertips here on your chin. Keep them up here so that you know that they stay up. Right. As we said, left is my jab. So when we start with our jab, we have to make sure that we do rotate the hip. So we want to turn it a little bit. We need to keep the shoulder up, and we need to bring the elbow up. So when we go for the jab from here, as I want to turn, my shoulder comes up, my elbow stays up, and my wrist is up. This wants to be in line. So in the same height, my wrist and my elbow and my shoulder wants to be in the same height line. So from here, we're going to go for my jab. Now, if I'm going to follow through with a power after that, I have to make sure that my jab comes back to my face. So as I bring my left one back, I'm going to turn, and my right is going to go out. Again, to bring that power, I have to use my hip. I'm rotating on my foot, so I'm bringing my whole body through. As I turn, the shoulder stays up, the elbow stays up, and the wrist stays up. So from here, if I'm going to do a jab right, it's going to follow. It's going to go 1, 2. Very important thing. This is my house. I need to protect my house. Is a good way to remember that. So when my jab, so this is mommy and this is daddy. So if mommy goes out, somebody's got to get back to the house before the other one goes out. So I need to bring the one back before the other one goes out. So from here, I don't want to do that. Then I'm going to get punched in the face. So make sure you protect, bring the jab out, bring the right, and we pause. And I need to use my hips and my shoulders, my upper body. That's where the power comes from. And I'm going to go 1, 2, and pause. And 1, 2, and pause. Right. Madeleine's going to show us how that looks on the bag. Now, very important also, when you put your gloves on, make sure that inside the glove you have a nice tight fist. Often the glove has a little bit of a shape, and sometimes we put our hands in and we have these floppy wrists. You're going to get hurt if you punch the bag with a floppy fist. So make sure nice tight fist, strong wrist, and then we're able to start the workout on the bag. We're going to just focus today on the jab and the right.
Yes, I think Leria really explained it very well, and even though it's just our basic punches, we have to learn the correct technique from the beginning, because we are like a little machine. If you're going to practice the wrong, by dropping your hands, the wrong technique, that's going to stick with you. So from day one, when you work on that bag, everything she said, look at the video over and over, but try and concentrate on the correct technique. Very important.
Okay, so I'm going to, in the next video, we're going to start the workout, and Madeleine is going to start the next video for us with the workout. Remember, most important, do your stretch, do your warm-up, put the wraps on, put the gloves on, and follow the next workout or the next video to start the workout.